Hey everyone, welcome back. So if you were worried that maybe letting AI handle so much stuff is making our brains a little bit, I don't know, lazy.
Interesting question.
Well, get this. There's this research study from Peking University and Monash University.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And it's looking at whether AI, like ChatGPT, could actually be making us metacognitively lazy.
Okay, metacognitively lazy.
That's a real head scratcher. So we're going to dive deep into this today.
Sounds fascinating.
So in this study, they had 117 students writing essays. But here's the twist. They split them up into 4 groups.
Great.
Each group had a different level of support. Some had none. Some had access to ChatGPT. Some had a human expert. And some had fancy AI writing tools.
So they were really trying to pinpoint how each type of support would change things up.
Exactly. And it wasn't just about the final product, like the essay itself, but they were also looking at how these tools affected the actual learning process.
I see. So the whole journey, not just the destination.
Precisely. So what really jumped out at you when you saw the results?
Honestly, the ChatGPT group's essay scores, they improved a lot. Significantly.
Really?
Yeah, even more than the students who had help from a human expert.
Well, hold on a sec. So they're writing better essays, but not necessarily learning more.
It's a paradox, right?
Yeah, how does that even work?
It seems like they were just really good at hitting all the points on the rubric.
Oh, so checking all the boxes.
Yeah, without really deeply understanding the concepts.
Interesting. So is this where the whole metacognitive laziness thing comes in?
Exactly.
Okay, so break that down for me. What does it even mean to be metacognitively lazy?
Okay, imagine you're using a GPS to get everywhere right. You never have to think about directions or landmarks.
Yeah.
You just blindly follow the instructions.
Okay, yeah, I do that all the time.
So you might get where you need to go, but you're not developing your own internal sense of direction.
Ah, I see.
It's kind of the same with AI. If you just hand over all the planning, the monitoring, the evaluating of your learning to a tool
So you just become dependent on it?
yeah, your own metacognitive muscles can weaken.
So basically, instead of wrestling with the material and really thinking about it,
Yeah.
the ChatGPT group was kind of stuck in this loop with the AI, right? Ask, refine, without ever really digging deep.
Exactly. They were so focused on getting that perfect output from ChatGPT.
Yeah, make it sound amazing.
But they missed out on those important moments of, wait, why am I even changing this?
Right, that self-reflection that really makes the learning stick.
Exactly.
So what about the human expert group? Were they constantly going back and forth, between the source material, their essay, and the expert's feedback?
Yes, absolutely. Their learning process was way more interconnected.
Oh, so they were really engaged.
Much more active. It wasn't just about pleasing the expert. They were actually grappling with the ideas.
That makes sense. But here's what I find really interesting. All the groups said they felt pretty much the same level of motivation. They were all equally interested in the task.
That is interesting.
But there's this one little detail. The control group, the ones with zero support, they actually reported the lowest enjoyment and the highest pressure.
Wow. So maybe having a little bit of support even from AI can make learning less scary.
Yeah, it takes the edge off.
Yeah.
So you can focus on exploring ideas instead of just stressing about grades.
Makes sense. But does that come at a cost?
Right. That's the big question. Does the efficiency and the hand-holding of AI mean we're sacrificing something else?
Are we missing out on developing those deeper, more self-directed learning habits?
The kind we need to tackle tough problems in the real world.
Exactly.
This is making me think about my own reliance on things like grammar checkers and writing assistants. Am I getting a little too comfy letting AI do the heavy lifting for me?
Yeah.
At what point does convenience turn into complacency?
It's a slippery slope, and it goes way beyond education. Think about how AI is being woven into every part of our lives.
It's true. Personalized news feeds smart assistants that predict what we want.
We barely have to lift a finger.
It's almost like our brains are getting pampered right. Everything is so streamlined and optimized that we're losing our tolerance for discomfort.
For struggle.
Yeah, for that productive struggle with difficult ideas.
But that's often where the real learning happens, right?
Totally. It's
Yeah.
like building muscle. You have to push yourself to see growth.
Exactly.
So how do we find that balance? How do we use AI's power without getting mentally flabby?
It starts with awareness. We need to understand how AI tools are shaping our learning, both the good and the bad.
Right. Are we really learning or just getting good at using the tool?
Yeah. Then we can start thinking about how to design AI systems that support human learning, not replace it.
I'm ready to dive deeper into that.
Yeah.
So what are some concrete ways we can make sure AI is helping us grow mentally instead of shrinking us?
So it's not about throwing AI out the window. It's more about figuring out how to use it, right?
Right. So it actually helps us learn and doesn't like turn our brains to mush.
Exactly. And a big part of that is realizing that not all AI tools are the same, you know?
Okay. So like different tools for different jobs.
Yeah. And in this study, they didn't just give students ChatGPT and say, have at it.
So they had some guardrails in place.
Yeah. They created this whole platform with different tools, a timer to keep them focused, a planner for strategizing, even a dictionary for translations.
Wow. So they really thought this through.
They did. And during the revision stage, each group had a different kind of support.
Okay. This is where it gets juicy. Let's break down each group's experience. Starting with the control group, they had no AI help, right?
Right, just the basic platform tools. So they were basically on their own when it came to revising and improving their essays.
So kind of like the old school way.
Exactly. It gives us a baseline to compare everything else to.
Makes sense. Now, the ChatGPT group, they had access to the AI, but with some limits, right?
They couldn't just ask ChatGPT to write the whole essay for them.
So ChatGPT wasn't just churning out the whole thing.
Nope. The AI was specifically trained on the essay topic, so it could give examples, suggest improvements, and answer clarifying questions.
So it was more like a super smart tutor.
Exactly.
What about the human expert group? Were they getting like real-time feedback from a professor?
Pretty much. They had one-on-one time with an expert in academic writing who gave personalized guidance, pointed out areas for improvement, and helped them connect their ideas back to the source material.
Okay, and last but not least, the group with the AI-powered writing tools, what were they working with?
They had a bunch of tools designed to help with specific parts of writing, like grammar and spell check style guides. Even a tool that helped them weave together the essay's main themes, which was a key part of the rubric.
So each group had a different flavor of support.
Mm-hmm.
But the researchers didn't stop at just seeing how often each group used the tools. They used something called process mining to understand the sequence of actions the students took.
Process mining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. What is that all about?
Imagine trying to figure out how someone bakes a cake.
Right.
You could look at the ingredients, but that wouldn't tell you the order they add them or the techniques they use.
Right, like how long they mix it for or what temperature the oven is.
Exactly. Process mining is like being able to see the recipe in action so you can spot patterns and insights you wouldn't get from just looking at the individual pieces.
Oh, I get it. So they could see how the different support systems influence the way students tackled the essay.
Yep. Like, did they jump right into writing or plan things out first? Did they revise as they went or wait till the end?
So it's like seeing the whole thought process unfold.
Exactly. And here's where things get interesting. Remember that feedback loop we talked about with the ChatGPT group?
The ask, refine thing.
Yeah, well, process mining showed they'd often bounce back and forth between revising their essay and chatting with ChatGPT.
But not really connecting their writing to the source material or doing much self-evaluation.
Right. They were so focused on polishing their writing based on the AI's feedback that they weren't stopping to think about why those changes mattered or how they fit into the big picture of what they were learning.
So they were letting the AI do the thinking for them.
Yeah. In a way, yeah. And that could become a problem over time because it might hinder their ability to think critically and independently.
What about the human expert group? What did their process look like?
Theirs was much more interconnected. They were constantly weaving together, revising, reading, and checking their work against the criteria.
So they were really taking ownership of their learning.
Exactly. It was a more active and reflective approach. And what's interesting is that the group with the checklist tools fell somewhere in between.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they showed more evaluation processes, probably because of the prompts from those writing analytics tools.
But they weren't quite as interconnected as the human expert group.
Right. It seems like just having AI tools that point out mistakes or make suggestions isn't enough to get that deeper level of engagement.
So it's not just about having fancy tools, it's about how you use them.
And maybe it also takes that human element, you know, the ability to have a real conversation about your ideas and wrestle with them in a way that AI can't quite replicate yet.
That's a really good point.
Mm-hmm.
It brings us back to the idea that AI could make us mentally flabby. You know, if we're always relying on it to do the thinking for us, are we losing the ability to do it ourselves?
It's a valid concern and one we need to be talking about. It's not about being anti-AI, but about using it thoughtfully and strategically.
And being aware of how it's affecting our own cognitive development.
Exactly.
Okay, so how do we actually do that? How do we design and use AI in a way that makes us smarter, not dumber?
That's where things get really exciting. We need to start thinking about AI not just as a tool for doing things for us, but as a tool for helping us think better and learn more effectively.
Okay, so instead of just giving us the answers, it could be more like a thought partner.
Exactly. Imagine AI tools that encourage us to reflect on our own understanding, to connect what we're learning to real-world scenarios, to ask our own questions, even to challenge our own assumptions.
So AI that helps us think for ourselves.
Exactly. And that brings us to another important point, fostering metacognitive awareness.
Metacognitive awareness. That sounds intense.
It's basically about being aware of our own thinking processes, but it's crucial. We need to teach students not just how to use AI tools, but also how to reflect on their own thinking, how to recognize when they're leaning too heavily on AI, and how to consciously flex those metacognitive muscles.
So it's like a kind of AI literacy, right? Knowing how to use the tools, but also understanding their limitations and being mindful of how they might be changing our thinking habits.
Exactly. And this goes way beyond just students. Educators, parents, even policymakers need to be part of this conversation. We need to be thinking critically about how we design learning environments, how we assess understanding, and how we prepare young people for a world where AI is everywhere.
This makes me think about something you mentioned earlier, the importance of human connection in learning. Even with all the cool AI stuff out there, there's still something special about that interaction between a teacher and a student. You know, that spark of inspiration that could ignite a lifelong love of learning.
Oh, absolutely. Teachers bring so much more to the table than just delivering information. They inspire curiosity, they encourage critical thinking, and they provide personalized support in a way that AI, at least for now, just can't match.
So it's not about replacing teachers with robots. It's about finding ways for AI to make teachers even better at what they do.
Exactly. AI can handle those routine tasks, provide personalized feedback, and even help teachers tailor their instruction to each student's needs.
So teachers have more time and energy to focus on those deeper interactions.
Like discussions, mentoring, creating those light bulb moments that make learning truly transformative.
AI becomes a tool that empowers teachers to be even better at what they do best, inspiring, guiding, and nurturing young minds.
And it's important to remember that this is still a work in progress. We're just starting to grasp how complex AI's impact on learning really is, and there's so much more to discover.
All right, so we know AI can be awesome for learning. But you got to use it right so we don't end up with like mushy brains.
Right. Exactly. And one really cool way to do that is to switch our focus from AI that gives us answers to AI that helps us ask better questions.
Ooh, I like that. So instead of just spitting out information, it's more like AI is a guide, like leading us to deeper understanding by asking us the right questions.
Exactly. Imagine an AI tutor that doesn't just fix your grammar, but instead it asks, why'd you pick that word? What are you trying to do here?
Oh, wow. So it makes you really think about it.
Yeah, it pushes you to think more critically about your choices.
Yeah.
And that leads to a much stronger grasp of, the subtleties of language.
So AI is helping you develop your own internal editor instead of just being the editor.
Exactly. And this could work for all kinds of subjects, not just writing.
Like what?
Think about math, like an AI math tutor that instead of just showing you the steps.
All right, just give me the answer.
It asks, what have you tried? What are you assuming here?
Oh, so it helps you figure out where you're going wrong.
Yeah. It helps you see your own misconceptions, and then you can develop a more, flexible way of solving problems.
It's like AI is a personal trainer for our brains.
Right.
Helping us target our weak spots and grow.
Exactly. And this ties into another big thing, metacognitive awareness.
Oh, that sounds kind of scary.
It's basically just being aware of how we think.
Right.
But it's super important. We got to teach students not just how to use AI tools,
right,
but how to reflect on their own thinking process.
Oh, so am I thinking or is the AI thinking for me?
Exactly. And how to recognize when they're relying too much on AI and how to use their own brains, flex those metacognitive muscles.
So it's kind of like AI literacy, right?
Yeah.
Knowing how to use the tools well, but also knowing what they can't do and being aware of how they might be changing our thinking habits.
Exactly. And this isn't just for students either. It's for educators, parents, even policymakers, We all need to be part of this conversation.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
We need to think critically about how we set up learning environments, how we figure out if students really understand things, and how we prepare kids for a world where AI is everywhere.
This reminds me of something we were talking about earlier. Even with all the amazing AI stuff out there, there's something really special about a teacher and a student connecting.
Absolutely.
Like that spark of inspiration that can make someone love learning forever.
It's true. Teachers bring so much more than just facts. They inspire curiosity, they push you to think critically, and they give you that one-on-one support that AI just can't replicate yet.
Right. So it's not about replacing teachers with robots. It's about figuring out how AI can make teachers even better.
Exactly. AI can handle those boring, repetitive tasks, give personalized feedback, even help teachers tailor their teaching to each student.
So teachers can focus on the good stuff?
Yeah, the stuff that really matters, like having discussions, mentoring, creating those aha moments that make learning really stick.
AI becomes a tool that helps teachers be even better at what they already do best, inspiring, guiding, and nurturing young minds.
And it's important to remember that this is all still evolving, We're just starting to understand how AI affects learning, and there's a lot more to learn.
This has been a really thought-provoking deep dive. It feels like we've only just scratched the surface.
Yeah.
AI could totally revolutionize education, but we got to make sure it leads to deeper, more meaningful learning.
Absolutely. It's exciting and a little scary at the same time. The key is to stay curious, keep asking those tough questions, and never stop learning ourselves.
Well said. And to everyone listening, we hope this has given you some new things to think about and maybe inspired you to think differently about AI. It's a powerful tool, but we got to use it wisely. Keep those brains active and keep flexing those metacognitive muscles